Hello, good morning, and welcome to Smart Means Business. I'm Andrew Obariji, and today is the 4th of October 2024. And today we have a very amazing discussion just to top up on what we had just yesterday, and all it's in line with the digital inclusion and seeing the rate at which Uganda has embraced this. But of course, the most important aspect here today, we shall be dealing with seeing how industries can leverage on the e-commerce, which is actually part of the key catalysts, most especially if we are to talk about economic growth and development, looking at information communication technology being part of the key drivers when it comes to the growth of this economy. But of course, before we still get into that, we need to understand quite a number of aspects, most especially taking a look at the statistics in line with the internet penetration in the country, taking a look at the rate at which people own the different devices, talking about the smartphones. That is going to be quite very vital in this very discussion. But of course, just to give you just a brief introduction here, as of 2022, the internet penetration in Uganda reached approximately, that is 53%, up from 27%. This was in the year 2017. Now, this has facilitated access to increased digital services, increased access to digital services rather. And of course, taking a look at the mobile phone ownership in Uganda, which also surged with 87% of the population owning a mobile phone, at least in 2022, compared to 67% in 2017. Now, of course, this growth has been also crucial for enabling e-commerce and other related digital services. And of course, taking a look at the e-commerce market in Uganda, which was valued at exactly $1 billion in 2022, with projections suggesting that it could reach at least $2.5 billion, that is by 2025. And this expansion is definitely attributed to the increasing adoption of online shopping and digital payment systems. Very interesting indeed. But of course, we shall be having further details regarding that. And of course, later on in our Business Insight, I'll be joined with a guest in one of the high institutions of learning who believes that industries need to leverage on the e-commerce. That is, if there is to see some bit of progress in terms of business profitability and earnings. Well, on that matter, I'm going to stop here, and we switch and take a look at what's making headlines, that is in the press. Well, and of course, to kickstart, start with the Daily Monitor as we take a look at Uganda in numbers. And of course, according to the census, Uganda's 2024 National Population and Housing Final Report has revealed a mix of positive and concerning trends. And of course, on the upside, life expectancy has increased from 63 to 68 years between 2014 and 2024. However, the socioeconomic indicators point at different picture. Of course, worrying that 51% of the youth aged between the age of 18 and 30 are neither employed nor in education, and up from 41% previously reported. Now, there is a big challenge here, taking a look at the youth not in employment, not skilled, and not educated, and not even in some kind of effort trying to search for at least what to do. So this is exactly what we are experiencing. But of course, to get to find out further details regarding this report, you'll have to grab yourself a copy as we proceed along. All right, now, of course, ministry issues mpox guidelines to schools. Now, of course, to curb the spread of the mpox, head teachers have been instructed, that is, to regularly clean and disinfect the surfaces, that is, by providing excess soap, availing soap and water to ensure that and discourage the sharing of personal items such as beddings, talking about clothing and also towels at the same time. And of course, Uganda takes the third position at Miss Tourism Africa contest. Yes, very interesting there. And as we see, Rubaga Hospital in a 2.2 billion Ugandan shillings drive to revamp the ICT scan machine. All right, so you grab yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor to find out further details into that. And of course, I see a very amazing report which was onto the top of the Daily Monitor, talking about the good, bad in final census report. And there is a huge details and lots of figures have been put in here. It's very vital if you're a researcher out there to find out what really transpired to the depths. All right, now still in the national news here, the IGG goes for assets and of course recovers at least 2.3 billion Ugandan shillings from thieving officials. Yes, now in 2023, about 8.4 billion was recovered out of 25.9 billion that is recommended for recovery. Okay, now court okays Bunyoro King's treatment from abroad. You'll get to find out further details when you grab yourself a copy. And of course, how the Member of Parliament Zakei torture case held to sanctions of officials. Yeah, the United States officially issued, of course, banning those police officers that tortured the Member of Parliament. The travel sanction, they were sanctioned to travel, and most of their assets in the West were actually froze at the same time. Okay, now proceeding, we're seeing quite very amazing headlines here as Sebei farmers bank on barley for big payoffs. Yes, farmers have actually opted for barley because they take a short period of time, that is to mature, and fetches relatively huge cash with each bag going for more than 152,000 Ugandan shillings. You can imagine how profitable this is. And of course, government weighs options as boat operators float guidelines. Yes, and of course, taking a look at the culture group, which declines to host Allow King's Fete. Yeah, grab yourself this copy. You'll find out into that. Okay, now, of course, the ministry tells the UEDCL to fix the glitches in the national power distribution. Now, the UEDCL was told to pay attention to the challenges, including our weak distribution infrastructure, which affect what we call reliability and security of power supply, energy losses within the service territories across the country. Yeah, so the ministry is urging them to put everything really right. Okay, now in the business section here, we take a look at high staff exits undermine the banking stability. The banking sector stability. This is according to the Bank of Uganda. Now, the bank says that high staff turnover was among some of the systematic challenges it had found during its on-site examination of supervised financial institutions for the year ended, that is June 2024. Now, away from that, we see commercial bank assets grow by 4.2 trillion Ugandan shillings, and of course mining, here they say that mining has the potential to enhance Uganda's GDP, says the Chamber of Mines in that aspect. And that brings me to the end of the Daily Monitor, and now I switch as we take a look at what's happening in the new vision. And of course, according to the census report, Pentecostals registered growth. Of course, they're saying that the Catholic Anglican numbers drop in that. And of course, General Muhoozi, Egyptian Chief of Staff, discuss on security ties. You grab yourself a copy of the new vision as you follow these updates. And of course, we see the radical married bill tabled, and part of the key aspects that you need to understand is that no DNA test without a court order, Cohabiting is illegal, 3 years in prison. And of course, reclaiming marriage gifts also illegal, and civil marriage can be polygamous. Yeah, this is according to the bill that has been tabled. Yes, now proceeding here, First Lady calls for equal opportunities for refugees. This is according to the hosts, and government schools to get solar power. Now, the provision of clean and reliable energy ensures extended hours of revision and improved security, that is for students. Okay, now here we take a look at General Kainerugaba, Rugaba, Egyptian Chief of Staff, which was actually making the headlines. They discussed security ties. You'll get to find out the details regarding to that. And the government moves private schools licensing online. Yes, digitization, we're talking about embracing the digital aspect. And of course, still here, still according to the census report, it has revealed that 51% youth idle, 51% of the youth are idle. Actually, this is what this report is meaning, according to the census report. So that is quite a very huge percentage if it's way above 50%. And well, that brings us to the end of the morning call and the press update. Let's take a break. And of course, I'm going to be returning with Caribbean, East Africa and international updates. Stick around.
Smart 24, driving business.
3 inspired souls brought together by love are set on a life-changing journey.
This is your life, Mackenzie. This is no longer a dream.
It's just something about Mackenzie.
I'll never marry you.
Your position does not allow you to break work relationship rules.
Where choices change everything. Crossroads, weekdays at 8 p.m. on Power Magic Prime. DSTV channel 148, GoTV channel 303.
Are you a woman entrepreneur or a woman owning a business and looking for affordable financing to scale up your business? Look no further than the Grow Loan. Grow Loan targets female entrepreneurs nationwide. Key features include a minimum loan amount of 4 million and a maximum loan amount of 200 million shillings, a maximum interest rate not exceeding 10.5% per annum, a loan repayment period not exceeding 24 months. All Grow Loan borrowers must comply with the Grow Project environmental and social standards. Special incentives are available for borrowers that are refugees or from the refugee host communities, people living with disabilities, and women entrepreneurs from the underserved or minority groups. To apply, contact any of the 6 participating financial institutions. Contact us for more information or visit our website at www.grow.go.ug. The Grow Loan is an intervention under the Grow Project, a Government of Uganda project financed by the World Bank and implemented by the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development and the Private Sector Foundation Uganda. Grow, generating growth opportunities and productivity for women enterprises.
Abantu bangi bafiira mu bubenje buli wiiki batugamba basiba mu 7 oyagala okunnyonnyoka ekiviirako ekyo program vumbula ekidduka kyo
omuntu atudde munda those are safety belts kisinga emmotoka efuna obuzibu ofuna instant braking kati weba ontudde mabega nze nsibye omusipi fe ab'emaaso nze driver nenkola instant braking nga gwe tosibye ow'emabega olaba wooyitawo n'otubuukira n'okuba omutwe mu ndabirwamu
omuntu yenna buli owulira nga emmotoka yeefunye enkenyera n'obuzibu tetambula bulungi etambula ekoona tesiba kibaka obuvunanyizibwa otwala emmotoka mu garaji
buli lunaku olwa Sunday essaawa 7 okutuuka ssaawa 7 n'ekitundu neddibwamu ku lunaku olwokusatu essaawa 4 okutuuka ssaawa 4 n'ekitundu ez'ekiro nange omuweerezaawo Davis Joe Eddungu ku Smart 24 TV kwe tuli ku DSTV tuli ku mukutu ogwa 372 ate ku GoTV ku 320 program vumbula ekidduka kyo.
Farming practices are evolving in incorporating new technologies to address the challenges of agriculture, especially in arid regions like United Arab Emirates, UAE. UAE's commitment to modern farming techniques is essential for ensuring food security and sustainability. The UAE has embraced modern farming practices, which likely includes hydroponics, aeroponics, and other advanced technologies to grow crops efficiently in desert environments. The adaptation of modern farming in desert areas is crucial for countries like UAE, where traditional agriculture may not be feasible due to limited water resources and harsh environmental conditions. Mentioning the world's largest vertical soliless facility in Bostania showcases the innovative approach to agriculture. Vertical farming allows for maximization space and resource efficiency, producing an average of 3,000 leafy greens daily in a significant accomplishment. This efficient production can help meet local demand for fresh produce and reduce the need for imports. Saving 95% less water is a remarkable achievement. In water-scarce regions, conserving water resources is crucial for sustainable farming. The absence of pesticides highlights the commitment to environmentally friendly and sustainable farming practices. The UAE's investment in modern and sustainable agriculture is not only beneficial for the country's food security, but also serves as an example for other regions facing similar challenges. This technology-driven approach to farming can potentially be a solution to global food production issues, especially in areas affected by climate change and water scarcity. Bostanica translates to your garden in Arabic, reflecting the farmer's mission to provide fresh and locally grown produce in the urban setting. Bostanica holds a distinction of being the world's largest vertical farm, covering a vast area of 330,000 square feet. It is a significant investment in modern agriculture. The facility represents a substantial investment of approximately $40 million. This substantial financial commitment highlights the importance of vertical farming in the future of sustainable agriculture.
Bostanica, we are a soilless facility that produces 3,000 kg, 3 tons daily of leafy greens. We are the world's largest vertical farm. Zero herbicides, zero pesticides and all. And we use, again, 95% less than water than traditional agriculture. So whereas in 1 kg of leafy greens in conventional farming, you would use 317 liters of water. At Bostanica, the same 1 kg of leafy greens would be consuming only 15 to 17 liters of water, which is 95% less. And we're proud of this.
Bostanica boasts an impressive annual output of 1 million kilograms, that is 10,000 metric tons of fresh produce per year. On a daily basis, it produces 3 metric tons of produce. This level of the production can help meet the growing demand for locally sourced and sustainable food. The farm employs efficient growing techniques, with a journey from seed to plant-led taking just in 2 weeks. This indicates an advanced technology and precision agriculture methods used in this facility. Bostanica cultivates a wide variety of crops, including beet, parsley, lilac, Moni Romani, ruby sky spinach, kale, arugula, microgreens, mixed herbs, and strawberries. This diversity allows for well-rounded selection of fresh produce for consumers. Overall, Bostanica serves as an exemplar of the potential of vertical farming to revolutionize agriculture for producing large quantities of high-quality, locally grown food in urban areas, reducing the environment impacts associated with traditional farming methods, and addressing the growing demand for sustainable and fresh produce.
Smart 24, driving business.
Exactly 25 minutes to the top of your. So this is Smart Means Business. I'm Andrew Barigi. Now heading straight into what is happening in East Africa. We kickstart off with the International Monetary Fund, which is reviewing Juba's readiness for new financing. This is set for November 15th this very year. Now, the International Monetary Fund Authority is reviewing the preparedness of the South Sudanese government to benefit from the new financing plan ahead of the November 15th compliance deadline, highlighting that is the fund's commitment to Juba's economic governance and political reform. Now, an IMF team led by Mem Atsou visited Juba, that is from September 25th to October 2nd, to hold discussions with the authorities on the third review under the staff monitored program with the board involvement. Now, according to Ms. Diouf, the mission discussed, in his very own words, I'm going to quote, he says that the mission discussed performance towards the PMB quantitative targets at end of June and progress in implementing the structural benchmarks. Now, of course, the PMB framework was developed by the IMF in 2022 to benefit to benefit countries that are subject of an ongoing concerted effort by creditors or donors to provide substantial new financing or debt relief or have. Now, we see that the IMF staff monitored programs are usually used when an IMF member country is not able to implement an IMF-supported program. Now, in February 2023, the IMF put South Sudan on this program with several targets, including a requirement that authorities publish all signed oil production sharing agreements with oil extracting companies, as well as quarterly reports on the oil sector. Now, the program is designed to support South Sudan's reform agenda aimed at maintaining macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability and improving governance and transparency with the objective of building a track record towards an upper credit tranche, of course, with the financial arrangement that way. Now, the PMB for South Sudan has been extended twice by 3 months each previously, and Juba definitely requested another 6-month extension to November 15th, 2024 to implement the outstanding structural reforms targeted under the PMB and bring macroeconomic policies back on track. Now, the extension is expected to give the government time to implement corrective actions on salary areas, monetary financing, exchange rate policy, strengthen the macroeconomic policy framework to respond to the recent external shocks, and take steps towards the transparency of oil revenue and its use, especially for spending under the Oil for Roads program. Now, South Sudan faces several macroeconomic challenges, partly resulting from the spillovers of the war in neighboring Sudan and recurrent flooding that have deteriorated economic and social outcomes. Now, the pipeline that carries about 70% of South Sudan's oil export has been inoperable since February 2024. All right, and away from that now, we cross over to Tanzania as we take a look at the new Chinese town, which actually a number of people believe it's going to boost trade, China and the Tanzania business and its business in East Africa. Now, the Chinese center is said to boost the Tanzanian trade as Dar es Salaam, the East Africa Commercial and Logistics, that is center is poised to connect Tanzanian traders directly with manufacturers aiming to enhance their competitiveness that is in the market. Now, the administration manager, Victoria Mombori, reassured the press that fears among Tanzanian traders regarding the center's impact on their businesses are unfounded. Now, Mombori said that the EACLC will alleviate high travel costs and reliance on middlemen by offering warehouses stocked with affordable goods that is imported from China, according to this report. Now, despite these assurances, unease among local traders is mounting as they anticipate the opening of the ESCLC, which is scheduled for October. I think in Uganda we had a similar, the Chinatown. Now we're seeing the ESCLC, which is also scheduled to be launched in Tanzania there. Now, there are concerns that the presence of Chinese nationals in the market could overshadow Tanzanian entrepreneurs who have traditionally dominated trade in East and Southern Africa. Now, the ESCLC, that is 110 million regional market developer by Chinese investors, will feature 2,060 shops and is currently 90% complete. Now, the Minister of State in the President's Office for Planning and Investment, that is Professor Kitila Mkumbo, on his record as having assured that 95% of the stalls will be reserved for Tanzanian entrepreneurs. Now, he highlighted the economic benefits of the center, including the creation of over 15,000 direct jobs and an increase in the city's appeal. Now, the local business leaders, however, remain skeptical. The chairman of the Dar es Salaam region business community, that is Mr. Omari, voiced concerns that Chinese traders might dominate the market due to their substantial resources. Now, in his very own words, he says that if the Chinese trade alongside Tanzanians, they might overshadow the local businesses, particularly in East Africa and Southern African countries where Tanzanians have a strong presence. Now, similarly, the chairman of the National Association of Business People, that is Mr. Hamis Luvembe, expressed a concern about the competitive implications of Chinese participation. Now, in response to these apprehensions, the Deputy Minister for Industry and Trade, that is Chigahe, assured the public that 97% of the stalls will be allocated to locals. Now, Chigahe also noted that many Tanzanians have already begun reserving stalls, indicating a positive outlook for the social participation in the ESCLC. So what will this mean to the Tanzanian traders? Is it really going to boost Tanzanian trade, or it's going to be like some kind of a competition between the local traders in Tanzania and China at large? And well, at this point in time, let's switch and take a look at what's making headlines across the borders of East Africa. Switching our sights to the international scene, we get into the country known as Ivory Coast. Now, fumigate prices have actually increased, and the rising cocoa farmgate prices fails to convince, according to what is coming in out of there into the agriculture sector. Now, while Cote d'Ivoire raised the fixed farmgate price paid to cocoa farmers to a record high, actors of the sector say it is still not enough despite this. Now, the Ivorian Agriculture Minister announced on Monday about the cocoa farmgate prices, and he said that it will now be at 1,800 francs, that is per the main crop, up from 1,000 francs. Now, however, the move has failed to meet the expectations of the local association of coffee and the cocoa producers. Now, they have been demanding President Al-Sani, his government, to keep his word and set the purchase price per kilogram of coffee and cocoa at 60%. Now, the CIF price stands for cost, insurance, freight in the price of goods at the border of the importing country. Now, the 2023-2024 season was marked by a 25% drop in the cocoa production in West Africa. Ivorian Agriculture Minister mentioned this. Now, consequently, the price of cocoa on the futures exchange hiked. Now, it hit an all-time high of over $10,000 a ton in the first quarter this year. Now, Ivorian producers say the farm gate price should actually at least be at 5,000 francs per kilogram if 60% CIF rule was enforced. Now, we know that Cote d'Ivoire is the biggest world cocoa producer from that line. But of course, we need to understand that what is happening in Ivory Coast definitely, what does it mean to the neighboring countries that are actually also dealing with the same? Because if the prices are actually not favorable, when it comes to demanding favor, or can I say competition on the global market, it may be in terms of the pricing. So other cocoa producers whose countries have the right policies regarding the cocoa production for the farmers, then stand a huge chance to use these crises to break through the big market right there. Now, as we wind this report up, let's cross over and go to Zambia. Now, recently, there has been power blackouts, power shortages in this country. And we are seeing how a mega dam has caused a mega power crisis in Zambia. Now, despite having the mighty Zambezi River and the massive hydro-powered Kariba Dam, Zambia is currently grappling with the worst electricity blackouts in living memory. Now, the crisis is quite so severe, and that cities and towns across the country are sometimes without electricity for 3 consecutive days, with people counting themselves lucky if lights only came in for just 1 hour or 2. Imagine that level of desperation that citizens get excited. So this is quite serious. A country that has had similar incidences in Africa is South Africa. The blackout energy crisis there. Now, the power cuts have come as a shock to the 43% of the Zambians who are connected to the grid and have taken electricity for granted all their lives. But one of the severest droughts in decades, of course caused by the El Nino weather phenomenon, has decimated Zambia's power generation capacity. Now, there is also a booming business of people borrowing money by charging the phones those without power. Zambia sources up to 84% of its electricity from water reservoirs, such as, of course, lakes, rivers, with only about 13% coming from coal. Well, I think now this points out to its inability to have alternatives to generate energy in case of some kind of a crisis. And this is what we are talking about here. Now, contributions from solar, diesel, and fuel oil are even lower, accounting for only 3% of the power generation in this country. Yeah, so for several weeks, the crisis was compounded while the country's only coal-fired power plant, that is Mamba Energy, was not operating at maximum capacity as it underwent routine maintenance and work at the same time. Now, seeing that the report says there was some good news when the Minister of Energy, that is Makozo Chikota, said that the plant was now fully operational and Zambians would at least have 3 hours of electricity a day. Now, this is just, okay, it's solving a problem, but it is still not to the expectations. Imagine having 3 hours of power supply every day, and that is quite okay. Now, a financial crunch also severely restricted the government's ability to import power as suppliers wanted payment upfront. Now, though, according to this, a spokesperson for a state-owned power utility that is known as ZESCO, Matongo, told the press to focus on Africa's, he told the press that actually electricity was being imported from Mozambique and South Africa to ease the crisis, especially in the mining industry. Now, Zambia's export earner and source, it's one of Zambia's main export earner and source of foreign currency. So they needed power to operate into these mines. Now, located on the Zambezi, the 4th longest river in Africa, Kariba was built, that is in the way back in the 1950s, and is the reservoir for the country's largest underground power station, Kariba North Bank Power Station. Now, a power station that is on the other bank serves Zimbabwe. But because of the drought that has laid, to parts of the river drying up, only one of the 6 turbines at Zambia's power station is operating, resulting in generating of partly 7% of the 1,080 megawatts installed at Kariba. Now this is something very absurd for the southern country. Actually, reports still further reveal that people, you go to different restaurants, you go to the bars, and people are charging their phones with huge noise, with a large noise, let me say, with generators, because the majority of these busy places in the city center have access to generators, but they're too noisy. People just come to the city, to those cities, to charge their phones, and they're okay, and they get back home to do other related business. Now, fortunately, the government has installed huge generators in some markets. Government offices and hospitals, though those stories are still being shared on social media on how kidney patients are struggling to cope up with this. Because some patients need to be hooked up to a dialysis machine for up to 3 hours a day, but power stored only targets at least 1 or 2 hours, sometimes even after midnight. Now, on the other occasions, there is no electricity at all for 72 hours in a row. Imagine 72 hours no electricity in the entire city, in the capital city of the country and the country at large. So those are about 3 days, which consecutive days. So this is very undermining to the country's infrastructure development, talking about industrial development, because it's largely industrial, and we know clearly that part of this crisis that is causing this, away from the phenomenon weather that has been mentioned. Remember, the former president of Zambia actually acquired quite a huge loan to maintain the infrastructure of the country. But of course, at this point in time, the government, due to the pending loan, it's not in position to actually spend the entirety of its income to provide the energy services that the citizens need in that country. So we can actually attribute this to some degree, a limitation in funding. So what is the option? Should Zambia really opt for international funding? Should it go to the Bretton Woods institutions, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank? Of course, such discussions need to be apprehended, because if we are still having such huge issues, then what will the success of can we say that with such a trend, the African Continental Free Trade Area will be able to succeed at the end of the day? So that's the question that is in line for the power crisis in this country. And you know that the fact that Zambia was importing from Mozambique and South Africa, and South Africa also has its own related challenges. Well, but I think importing from Mozambique and South Africa, if we are to compare these to acquiring loans from the Bretton Woods institutions to establish a stable infrastructure to favor the energy production, what is the best option? Which, because we need to still consider that there is already a pending date for this country, which the former president actually acquired, though the advantage is that it was effectively utilized. The infrastructure was put in place, but the mechanism to ensure that the infrastructure is operating to drive economic growth and development is still the limiting factor into this equation. Well, that brings us to the end of the International and Caribbean East Africa report. Let's take a break. Of course, I'm returning with business quotes, tips and quotes, and other related interesting discussions. Stick around.